Hi class, this is Jada Stevenson. We left off with psychosocial crisis resolution looking at the multi-systems lens. Um, there were two main factors that enabled the interviewee to resolve his crisis. The one was his wife. While the interviewee was away, she was very supportive, even when he didn't want it. The family always visited him. Even when he had lost all hope, his wife pushed him to do what he needed to do to get better. Um, Eventually, when he had 100% no drive to get better, she threatened to divorce him if he didn't fight for his life and be a father to his family. So this motivated him to do what was necessary to get better and go home. She also wanted them to participate in counseling because she understood that everything that the interviewee had been through was very traumatic, and she wanted to make sure that he was okay, that their sons were okay, and that their marriage was okay. Another factor was the VA hospital, who offered support by he has lifetime care now. Whenever he gets sick or anything, he goes to the VA and is with no cost to him. So that's a financial burden lifted off the family, because if he had to go to any other hospital, then he would have to pay for the services. So the VA also offered counseling services for he and his family if they were necessary. The interviewee and the family accessed these services. They did marriage counseling, individual counseling, and made sure the children got counseling as well. In conclusion, with the threat of divorce and losing his family, the interviewee decided to go to marriage and family counseling provided by the VA. The entire family entered counseling, and eventually he found the will to recover. He began to eat healthy and lost weight. Eventually he was able to go home to his family. When he did come home, it was a hard transition at first because his sons were used to not having a father in the house, and they were 4 years older than they had been. The interviewee struggled to find his place of authority within the house. He struggled to find his role. He worked to earn the respect of his sons. At times there were conflict, but with effort, there was homeostasis within the family again. So looking at another approach, the systems theories approach, I focused on the different facets in systems theory. The first was roles in homeostasis at the time of young adulthood, at the time when he was in the nursing home. The interviewee's wife assumed the role of head of the household when her husband went away. Later on, her oldest son, kind of took the place of her husband because she was unable to drive. She did not have her license, and she depended a lot on him to drive her around. Before that, she would depend on rides from friends, neighbors, her family members. So that was really hard on them. The interviewee was absent from their lives, so there wasn't any homeostasis. The roles were all over the place. The pressure was really on the wife to take care of the finances and the bills, and if anything broke, it was up to her to fix it. She learned a lot in order to maintain the household. The next is input and output. In this family, neither parent really works. They solely survive off of Social Security, the interviewee's VA benefits, but it was hard when the family was unbalanced. So once the family was balanced, the goal was for the family to become balanced again, for the interviewee to come home so that there could be better output. As far as entropy, in those circumstances at the time, the interviewee and his family were moving towards entropy. The interviewee's health continued to get worse. No one really knew uh, how he would end up or what was going to happen with his health because he wasn't taking an active role into getting better. He had just given up. So, with equifinality and multifinality, if the interviewee situation improved and he took better care of himself and worked to get back with his family, he may still have to work on building a relationship with them again. The financial burden, but also the financial burden would be lifted off of his family because he would be there to help make the decisions for the household, which was his role prior to him going away. This is a genogram of the family. It shows the interviewee, his ex-wife who got a divorce, his first son, whom the ties were cut off due to the divorce, his second wife and current wife, who they love each other very much, very much. They are and were close at the time, but there was hostility in their relationship. The wife was frustrated at her husband for not trying harder to get better so that he could be a support to her and their children. But also the interviewee felt a lack of support and that no one understood him. So that caused hostility between the two of them, especially when he gave up. Then you show the 3 sons that they had together. The theory that I chose to talk about as far as limitations was biopsychosocial. In describing the interviewee's life narrative, I found that biopsychosocial model made it difficult to acknowledge the complexity and detail within the interviewee's life. It was very narrowed and strict to just 3 specific areas, and I felt like there was a lot more that related to the issues that my interviewee faced, and I don't think it could just be narrowed to those 3 categories. However, I do feel that a lot of the issues that arose in the interviewee's life were directly related to his physical and emotional and mental health, so it was a beneficial approach to use. I think that my interviewee's life may be a little unique because so much emphasis was placed on just the biological aspect. A lot of it had to do with his health. That was the main issue in his young adult life, was his health. So that is some of the limitations that I saw. And these are my references. And thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed my presentation.